Bernard Arnault and family currently hold the crown with a fortune of $214 billion, while Jeff Bezos sits snugly as the richest man alive with $206 billion. That's a boatload of cash by any measure, but it's like comparing apples and oranges when you think about historical wealth. What if I tell you about a man who had more than $400 billion worth wealth? No, I'm not bluffing. In today's video, let's take a trip back to the 14th century where Mansa Musa, the West African ruler, reigned supreme on the richest scale. This man was so loaded that his generosity threw an entire country's economy off kilter. Historians and storytellers alike have a hard time putting a number on Musa's wealth. Some say $400 billion, but it's more likely that his riches were simply beyond counting. Mansa Musa inherited a kingdom that would make even the most ambitious rulers of today raise an envious eyebrow. The Mali Empire under his rule stretched far and wide, from the Atlantic Ocean to modern-day Niger. But where did this vast amount of wealth come from? Actually, the heart of Musa's riches lay in gold and salt. Yeah, salt was a big deal back then, not just for seasoning fries, but as a precious commodity. The Mali Empire was practically the Fort Knox of the medieval world, with Musa holding the keys to a treasure trove. What's fascinating is how Musa's rule coincided with Europe's less glamorous period, filled with civil wars and resource woes. Meanwhile, over in West Africa, the Mali Empire was booming like a Silicon Valley startup. Timbuktu wasn't just a name you heard in jokes, it was a bustling trading hub that added to Musa's ever-growing coffers. Musa takes the throne after his predecessor's oceanic escapade went awry. We're still not sure what happened to that expedition, but we like to think they stumbled upon Atlantis and are sipping margaritas with mermaids. As Musa's empire expanded, so did the pockets of its citizens. It's like the Midas touch, but instead of turning everything to gold, it turns everything into a thriving economy. And then comes the Great Voyage. Mansa Musa's grand voyage to Mecca was like a royal road trip that turned heads and shook up economies. The king, with more gold than he knew what to do with, was heading to Mecca on a pilgrimage, but doing it in style with a massive entourage. So, why did Musa decide to hit the road in such a grand way? Well, for starters, Mali was sitting on a mountain of gold, but despite their riches, not many people outside of Mali knew about it. Musa, being a devout Muslim, wanted to make the pilgrimage to Mecca, as it's a big deal for Muslims. But instead of going incognito, he decided to bring along a small army of soldiers, slaves, and a bunch of other fancy people, all decked out in Persian silk and carrying golden staffs. We're talking about 60,000 people tagging along, including 12,000 people decked out in fancy Persian threads, and a caravan of 80 camels, each lugging 300 pounds of gold. When they rolled into Cairo, it was like the circus had come to town. Musa's encounter with Cairo's ruler was a mix of awkward and impressive. The ruler Al-Malik al-Nasir wasn't exactly thrilled about the idea of Musa bypassing the whole kissing the ground and hand thing, but eventually Musa played nice and got a place to crash for himself and his crew. And let's not forget the part where Musa basically sprinkled gold all over the place, which initially thrilled everyone until they realized it messed with the economy big time. The aftermath of Musa's generosity wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. The value of gold took a nosedive in Egypt, and it took the locals a good 12 years to bounce back. But Mansa Musa wasn't all about party tricks with gold. He was a builder too. He commissioned some amazing architectural wonders like the Great Mosque of Timbuktu. It was a symbol of learning and culture. People from all over the Islamic world flocked there like it was the hottest spot in town, turning cities like Timbuktu into knowledge hubs. He also had a knack for bringing brains and culture to the table. He invited architects and scholars from all over the Islamic world to hang out in cities like Timbuktu and Gao. Suddenly, these places weren't just desert pit stops, they were buzzing hubs of knowledge and creativity. He wasn't just throwing cash around, he was investing in minds and ideas. And you know what they say about investing in education? It's like planting seeds that grow into money trees. So, what's the takeaway from Mansa Musa's pilgrimage party? Well, for one, don't underestimate the power of a wealthy ruler on vacation. Mansa Musa's journey wasn't just a religious trip, it was a game changer for economies and cultures along the way. If he did that today, he could mess with global markets, shaking up stuff like gold prices and even those funky cryptocurrencies. But it wasn't all about making gold rain. Mansa Musa also knew how to invest. Back then, he pumped his cash into building epic stuff and boosting education in Timbuktu, turning it into a hotspot of smartness and culture. If he were around now, he might throw his stacks into high-tech labs, universities, and artsy places. Heck, he might even fund a new city tomorrow, all decked out with eco-friendly gadgets and super smart buildings. Remember his epic pilgrimage with a ton of people, horses and camels carrying gold? Today, that would look more like a fleet of private jets and mega yachts hauling not gold but maybe life-saving tech or gadgets to help folks in need across the globe. His wealth wasn't just about owning cool stuff, it was also about having serious clout. In today's world, that would mean owning a chunk of big-time companies, having a say in global politics, and being a big shot in places like the UN or the G20. And let's not forget his generous side. Mansa Musa wasn't stingy. He built mosques and schools like they were going out of style. Today, that could translate into mega charity foundations, tackling big issues like poverty, education, and healthcare on a global scale. Now, fast forward to our era of billionaires, where we've got Bernard Arnault and company leading the pack with $214 billion. Then there's Jeff Bezos with $206 billion to his name. Elon Musk, our tech titan, is not far behind with $194 billion. Comparing these money moguls is like putting gold bars next to Bitcoin. Mansa Musa's wealth was all about controlling physical stuff like gold and salt and ruling the trade routes like a boss. Today's billionaires, on the other hand, are all about shaking up industries and tech wizardry and innovation. Sure, adjusting for inflation gives us a glimpse of Mansa Musa's mega wealth, but it doesn't quite capture the epic impact he had on his era. Mansa Musa's legacy reminds us of the old-school riches built on trade routes and shiny rocks, while today's billionaires are all about coding, rockets, and disrupting the status quo. Just like modern billionaires often leverage cutting-edge technologies and innovations to build and expand their empires, his era was characterized by the flourishing of trade routes and cultural exchange, but lacked the technological advancements seen today. While Mansa Musa's wealth was legendary in its time, today's billionaires operate in a vastly different economic, technological, and social landscape, yet they share the common thread of immense wealth and influence shaping the world around them. So, whether you're dreaming of ancient gold or futuristic rockets, the tale of Mansa Musa and today's billionaires is a timeless saga of wealth, power, and ever-changing game of who's got the most zeros in their bank account. It's a reminder that generosity, while flashy and fun, can also have some unintended consequences. And if you're ever in the mood to shake up an economy, maybe take a few notes from Mansa Musa. Just maybe leave the gold bars at home. And that's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed this exploration into wealth and history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating insights into the lives of history's wealthiest individuals. Stay tuned for our next deep dive into the world of riches and success. Until then, keep exploring and learning about the stories that shape our understanding of wealth and prosperity.